Hey, it's me, Unapologetically T, and I'm back with another video. I had a lot of errands to run today, so why not? This video is about growing up fast, and let's talk about it. So, I am one of those people who had to grow up fast. From a very young age, I saw and experienced a lot of things we would deem adults, I had a childhood, but I didn't have a childhood. I did not have the space and time to literally be a child long at all. Like I said, I was being sexually abused. I was literally partying like a college student before I even turned 18. I had smoked weed by 12. Like, I had drank and smoked a cigarette like at a very young age. And I think there is a lot of us who had experienced this, like just your parent having a pack of cigarettes laying around and you trying it. And I just thought it was like the triflingest thing I'd ever tasted in my life. And it still amazes me to this day that I grew up to smoke cigarettes, because like that experience was like, what in the fuck is you smoking this for? And then just the smell alone, just having to be around it and smell it was just crazy. So then, like, alcohol was always around. So I drank alcohol at a very young age, and it just that was my norm. And not only experiencing certain things that kind of robbed you of a childhood, and seeing certain things, being aware of certain things that just robs you of being whimsical and being imaginative, and like having that, like, I don't know if that's a word, but whatever, you get what I'm talking about, you get my drift. And so like just being in a space where like you can be safe and be a child and be in a child's place, like they used to say. They used to always say be in a child's place, but yet and still they would adultify you. And even outside of that, by the time I was a teenager, I got pregnant in my late teens. I found out when I was like 20. It was my 20, like I was 2 days after my 20th birthday that I found out I was pregnant. And life changed for me. So I was also growing up fast in that aspect, that like, okay, well, I know I can take care of myself because I've moved out and I'm taking care of myself now. But now I'm adding an extra element to this. Like, I have to take care of someone else. And so it's all fun and games taking care of yourself. And it's hard still. You can make these mistakes and you can do these things, and all you have to worry about is you and how they affect you. But when you bring someone else in this picture and they're innocent and they're relying on you, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. So like my whole psyche changed. And so like growing up fast, I just always had to grow up fast. It's no wonder that last year went by so fast, because that's kind of like how my life had been. It was just this fast movie. It was this movie in like fast speed. And I had moments of being a child and having a childhood, but a lot of my moments were also like harsh, and I had to grow up. And saying all of that, I want to say this, like, a lot of us who had to grow up fast, we literally had to grow up fast in the responsibility department. So we had to be responsible. We had to be the one who, made sure everything was okay. However, no one really talks about how those that typically grow up fast are stunted developmentally as a child. So as a child, developmentally, like, you're still emotionally a very young age. Emotionally, you're a very young age, and you have to learn how to grow up in that sense. And a lot of us are not learning how to grow up and grow out of our trauma and heal our trauma and acknowledge our trauma. A lot of us are not learning that. So we're literally, adults walking around in grown-up bodies that are kids in certain aspects. Like, there are certain parts of me that meets adulthood very much well. Like, I know how to, handle finances. Even though I'm in the situation I'm in, like, period, that's a moment. Literally over all of my life, I've been handling my financial situation since I was a kid myself. So, and I don't mean like kid while I was underneath my parents' roof, but as soon as I moved out, I've been handling my financial situations. And I think I moved out when I was 18. Yeah, I think I was 18 when I moved out. So, literally, and there's people who have moved out of their homes at 12 and 13 and 14 and even younger ages. And so they've had to learn how to take care of themselves. And they learned based off of survival. And a lot of us has learned out of survival how to take care of ourselves. And it's not always the best way. And how to take care of others is not always the best way. So, I don't know. I just want to bring up the topic of people who had to grow up fast and how usually we use that as a flex, but it's actually, you got a lot of work to do, inner work to do, because there's trauma based around that. You shouldn't have had to grow up that fast. And yeah, we can acknowledge that it has given you some strengths, but we also can acknowledge that it has caused some wounds. And I was just listening to like YG song. It's like, I think it's 2004. And literally, I'm so happy that men are coming out about sexual abuse. And I'm so happy that, like, in the song lyrics, he spoke about how he was raped. He said it. I was raped. I get so tired of hearing men talking about I lost my virginity to a girl who was... And if this girl was, like, too old for your ass, like, that's rape. If it was a girl and it was a man in that situation, we would have really soon right away identify that as rape. But because it's a guy, we identify that as a notch on their belt, and it literally has effects on men just like it does women. It's just that society will not acknowledge that pain and that trauma and the wounds that it causes. It causes men to be hypersexual. It causes girls to be hypersexual. It causes men to shut down. It causes girls to shut down. It just depends on the person and the effects of it. And he talks about that as well. Like, I didn't talk about it because I liked it. He talks about if he would have told, the woman would have ended up, on the news. Like, because if he would have told his mama, like, she would have did something about it. And it's like, I love that men are being vulnerable. I love that we're having these conversations about having to grow up too fast and the effects that it has had on us. And the only way we can get through this is if we talk about it. The only way we can get through this is if we acknowledge these things have happened, acknowledge these things are not right, so that they can stop happening. We don't want them to continue to happen. And literally growing up too fast or growing up very fast, we use that as a badge of honor, and like, it's not really a badge of honor to me anymore. My trauma is my badge of honor just because I overcame a lot of things, and it's still trauma that I'm overcoming. There's still memories that I don't have access to, and like one of my psychiatrists said, like, maybe you don't need access to all of them. Like, some things are so horrific that, like, you just can't even, handle it. So, like, if it's meant for me to know some of the memories, then I'll know them. If not, God protect me. So, but I'm just happy that definitely for men, that the world is becoming a safe space for you to share this, because it is rape. It is sick. It is grotesque. It's not right. When a woman does it, it's just as fucking disgusting and gross as when a man does it. And that's the dangers of double standards. That's why we shouldn't have them, because we're people at the end of the day, and our gender shouldn't equate what's right and what's wrong for the next person. It's just like men having the idea that, like, oh well, women can handle cheating, but men, when a woman do it to a man, it's like something different. It's not. We're all hurting this shit. Like, we're all hurting in this shit. Like, I want to repeat and reiterate that it doesn't matter your gender. We're all hurting from trauma, and the gender doesn't make the trauma any less. So I hope we figure that out. But yeah, growing up fast is no longer one of my badges of honor. I even used to, like, you know, let my kid know, like, you know, when I was your age, I was doing this and doing that. And she told me, like, I think we was looking for jobs and filling out job applications and stuff like that, because she's wanting a job. And I was like, you know, when I was your age and I wanted to work, didn't nobody sit down here and didn't nobody sit down and, like, do the job application with me. They didn't teach me how to do them stupid ass aptitude tests, like, oh, you know, they want to check your morality and your character. Nobody taught me how that. I was telling the truth on that shit. One of my friends had to tell me, like, you don't tell the truth on that, like, you lie. They want you to lie. So go ahead and lie. And so, like, no one sat down at home and taught me how to interview. Like, I had to learn and figure that shit out on my own. And I was telling her, like, you know, if you really want this job, like, you'll figure it out. And she was like, well, and I was like, because by your age, you know, I already had to do all this stuff. And then she was like, well, you know, that I'm sorry that, you know, your parents wasn't helpful to you, but, like, I really could use some help. Because I don't know any of this. And that shit shook me. Like, I was like, oh. I'm looking at her like she's weaker than me, because I had to grow up fast and I had to figure this shit out. But she's actually telling me, like, I'm sorry that you had to figure this out. You shouldn't have had to do this by yourself. But I need your help. And that's great, because that's why I didn't know how to ask for help. That's why I didn't know how to ask for help. And, like, that shit jolted me, like, oh, it's not that my child is weaker. It's that my child is in a better fucking situation than I was. My child is in a better situation than I was. She's literally safe enough to say she needs help. She's safe enough to count on me to give her help. She's safe enough to tell me that, you know, like, I'm sorry that was your situation. Like, but, you know, like, over here... I would love some help from my mother. And so that made sense to me. And it was eye-opening. It was like, oh, just because I had to grow up so quick doesn't mean that she has to. And I can hold her hand in areas where I wish somebody would have held mine. I can hold her hand in areas where I actually hold other people's hand. And she literally does a great job at checking me sometimes on my bullshit. And sometimes it takes like a week to process this and understand that this is what she was saying to me. And because I just grew up so fast, like, I just figured this shit out on my own. Like, I wasn't gonna beg them people to help me. I wasn't gonna beg them to do, you know, things like that. I just figured it out myself. And I had to grow up really quick, and it's strength in that, but it's also trauma in that. And so just acknowledging that growing up, having to grow up fast is not a complete flex. It's a flex to a certain extent, but it is also riddled with toxicity. We shouldn't have had to. We should not have had to, but because our parents had it hard, we had to have it hard. And this generation of children actually get to be children, and they actually get to show us who they are, and they actually get to verbalize, like, what's right and wrong for them. And I think that's beautiful. And I'm loving that the children in us who are from my generation, whether you're a millennial, what is it, Gen X, I can't remember which one. The one before me, the people from the 80s. Some of the 80s are millennials, and then some of them are not. I don't think. I forgot the cutoff age. But us guys, us guys. I love to see us, the children in us, heal. I love to see the children in us speak out as adults and say that these things have happened and how they affected us and how, you know, how we're having to heal from these things that we literally once thought made us adults. We literally once thought they made us grown, and they literally don't. And they literally give us a lot of toxicity that we have to detach from. We have to no longer exist in. And it's a beautiful thing. So I just wanted to put that snippet up there for something, someone, somehow, whatever. It's up here. Hopefully it finds who it needs to find. And yeah, that's that.